And we're welcoming everyone here. This is Christine Ray from CSP International. And our guest today is Nina Cooke. Now, Nina works exclusively with frustrated business owners who are stuck, also leaders and professionals who have hit a brick wall and their business has plateaued. She has a superpower, and it is digging deep to find the root cause of why they're struggling, and then showing them how they can clear out their resistance so that they can charge for their value, serve a wider and deeper audience, and have easier relationships. Nina gets a huge kick out of seeing her clients have a 180-degree turnaround, from looking to the outside world for the solution of their business struggles to looking within themselves and finding the answer. And then they experience richer, freer, and easier lives, which is a bigger result than they signed up for. So pretty exciting at the beginning of the year. So over to you, and go.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for being here, and I'm really looking forward to giving as much content as I can in the time that we have together. And I'm guessing you're here because you have some fear around strategy calls, and I'd love to find out exactly what it is that you feel is the scary part of them. So this isn't about the actual strategy and what to say in the sales call. This is all about the mindset. So you're thinking around the strategy call. So what do you find the scary bits? Is it around asking for the price? Is it around feeling like a fraud when you turn up to the call? Maybe you don't believe in your value, or maybe it's just you don't want to be pushy. You don't want to come across as the sleazy salesperson. So please do share with us, and write in chat what you find to be really, really scary when it comes to making sales calls. I think there's still some interruption. Joseph and Sandra, if you could mute yourselves, there's a mute button in the very bottom left-hand corner.
We should have set at the front because there's speakers up there.
Christina, yours is also not on. Just to get sort of that whole theme started, Nina, I find with the people that I work with, one of their sort of more scarier areas are actually when they give their price and the client says it's too much. That's generally where people go. They might think they know their value, and they're standing up for their value, I think, more than appreciating themselves.
Yes, and this is a really great question to start with. So when people say their price and the other person says, "Oh, that was much more than us."
Yeah. I didn't record it. I think you're recording it. Okay.
I think there's some people joining who aren't. I'm just sorry, before I answer that, I just want to make sure that everyone's muted. So could you just check in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, there's a mute button. Could everyone just make sure that there's a red line through that? If you can click on it, you'll see a red line. And that red line means that you're on mute. So if
Layla, WW Design, Sandra.
Could you press that mute button? Just click on it in the bottom left-hand screen.
They're saying click on the bottom left-hand screen mute button. Why is that?
So that we don't hear the background that's going on in your office. You're moving your phones, you're typing on typewriters, whatever it is. Typewriters, there, I've aged myself right away. Put your hand up if you know what a typewriter is. Keyboard, okay, got it. It just makes a lot of background noise. Thank you. Okay, Wendy, you're
still. Thank you so much.
Yeah, awesome. I think everybody is now.
Excellent. So Christine asks, what happens when you say your price and the prospect says that was much more than I was expecting? So they have every right to say that, because they have their budget. Now, what we tend to do when someone says that's too much is we tend to freeze and think, okay, that's the end of the sales call. They're not going to want to book with me. I'm too expensive. However, what is really, really useful at this stage is just to take a step back and look at the overall picture. All that's happened is the client has said it's too much. And often when they're saying it's too much, that's not the real reason that's not their actual objection. Normally, when they say the price is too high, it means that they don't see enough value for for the price that you're offering. So it's really useful to find what is the actual real reason why they're saying the price is too high. And this is when I go into curiosity mode. I'm a very curious person, and I love to know why people are saying and doing what they're saying and doing. So in curiosity mode, it's much easier to stay separate from, it's much easier to stay unattached to the outcome. When we're very much attached to the outcome of the call, we really need that client to say yes, because it means we'll be able to get through the month, we're going to have enough money to pay for stuff and all of that. That's when we get a really desperate, needy energy going through. So stay unattached to the outcome of the call, get into a real great curiosity mode, and ask questions to find out what is the real reason behind that objection. And you'll be very, very surprised at what comes up. And what's really important at this stage is to stay with the prospect. Imagine there's a chasm. And often what happens is the prospect will swing to the opposite end of the chasm. We'll stay on our side of the chasm. There's a big gaping hole between the two of us. We feel that we're on one side and they're on the other side, and therefore it can feel like a confrontation at that point. Take that swing rope and swing to their side of the chasm, so you're standing next to the prospect, and find out what's really going on. And normally all it is that they're asking for you to demonstrate the value of what you can do. So it's really important with the mindset at this stage, to make sure that you are still leading the conversation, that you're not suddenly feeling that you're inferior to the prospect, that they're taking the lead from you. So just keep asking questions, and keep that thinking that if this client says no to me, it's not going to make or break my life. I'm really curious at the moment. I'm having a conversation with the client. The conversation isn't over yet, and let's just dig around and see what's really, really happening.
So what I would say then is to that person, that's an interesting perspective. Tell me why you were thinking that.
Absolutely.
And go from there. Like, you have to ask direct questions.
Yes. And don't feel that the sales call is over at that point.
No,
you will be amazed how often the client is just saying something because they want time to think.
Well, they say no because they can, right? It's
absolutely
the first line of defense is we can't afford it.
And one of the scariest things about going into the sales call, which I hear my clients saying again and again and again, is I don't want to hear a no. And this is the biggest fear around sales calls, the fear of rejection. And the story that we make up in our heads is when a prospect says no to us, it means they're saying no to me and who I am. They're not just saying no to my service, they're rejecting me, my value, who I am. And if they're saying no to me, it means they think I'm not good enough. They think I can't deliver on the result. They think that I'm not competent. And that means that there's something wrong with me. And that means that, I'm a disappointment. I'll never get what I want. And can you see how that inward negative spiral of thinking takes over? So you can see when we have that fear about rejection, why we would do anything to avoid having strategy calls. So
yes.
So the way to get around this fear of rejection is like this. Separate their no from who you are. All they're doing, when you look at it neutrally, all they're doing is saying, no, this isn't right for me right now. It's a not yet for me. They're not rejecting you and who you are. It's never personal. So remember all the times when you've been on a strategy call at the other end, when you've been a prospect and you've said no to that person because it's not right for you. You're not rejecting them personally. It's just what they have doesn't fit in with your life right now. So once you can separate your value from that no, then you will become much more fearless about going into sales calls. And let's face it, we all have to do sales calls. That's how we grow our business. That's how we get clients. And when you can have that courage and that confidence, then you won't worry about how many no's you get. The no's are part of the whole picture of getting clients. There is no one I know who has 100% success rate in booking clients. Even the most seasoned, even the best salespeople still get no's. And the difference between them and most of other people is that they're okay getting a no.
It's buyer behavior as well, knowing how buyers buy. Only 1% of people buy the first time you approach them. So you have to keep coming back at them. You know, it's what they
Absolutely.
expect. What do you think is really holding business owners back from having sort of authentic sales conversations?
Fear. It's fear. It's fear around the rejection. It's fear around getting no's. We will do everything we avoid to get no's. Everything. And the really funny thing is that when we the way that we look at yes and no's, I think is all wrong. So we're standing in the middle and there's a yes on this side and there's a no on that side, and the sales call can go either side. I don't look at it like that. I look at it as 3 stepping stones. We're standing on the first stepping stone. The yes is on the 3rd stepping stone, and that middle stepping stone is the no. You have to go through the no's in order to get to the yes.
It's somebody that I've worked with for a long time always likens it to a baseball diamond. You know, if you're the person with, I don't know what the terminology is, the stick, I call it, you're the bat person, you're going to hit that ball and you've got to go to all 4 of those bases before you get a home run. I mean, it's the same thing.
Absolutely. This is yes. So you have to go through the no's. You have to get comfortable going through the no's. And the easiest way to do that is to not take it personally and look at no as a challenge. It's a great challenge. You get off a call, the prospect said no, then get into your creative mode. How can I do better next time? What do I need to do? How can I demonstrate my value to that person? How could I have handled that objection differently? How can I be more unattached to the outcome of the call? How can I enjoy it more? And the way that I've found to enjoy a call is to step into it with a positive mindset. You get to choose how you turn up to every single call. It's within your power, your control. So you can turn up to a call thinking negatively, thinking, I'm never going to get a yes from this person. It's going to be a waste of time. They're going to say no to me. I'm going to feel really rubbish about myself afterwards. I wish I didn't have to do this. Or you can turn up to a call with a really positive mindset. You can think, I'm going to enjoy this. Every single conversation, think about it this way. Every single conversation we ever have in our lives, whether it's with our partners, whether it's with our friend, whether it's with our colleague, whether it's with our children, every single conversation is unique. You can never have exactly the same conversation with anyone in your life ever. Every single interaction is unique. So I turn up to sales calls thinking, this is going to be a unique conversation. I will never have this again. And when you approach it that way, then it becomes more special.
And the other thing for me is always remembering that fear is false evidence appearing real. So it's either false evidence that you are processing that's holding you back from being your authentic self, or it's false evidence that they are filtering through their filters that's providing them sort of a foggy view of what your value is. I mean, there's really only 2 reasons why people don't part with money. And one is that they don't understand the value of what it is that you're selling. And the other one is that they're afraid of making a mistake, that they're not going to get what they think they're going to get. Right? It's just finding out what they're worried about and then addressing that with your value points. So how does somebody believe in their value in order to build that confidence during the strategy call?
This is a really, really great question. How do we believe in our value? The easiest way to believe in your value is for you to look for evidence. So Christine just mentioned foggy evidence. And when we have certain thinking, we can convince ourselves that actually we're not very good at what we do, that we're a fraud, we'll get found out for not being very good, and then there'll be total humiliation all around, that you can't actually help that client, you haven't got what it takes, and all of these other things that we think about. These are all made up stories, because you wouldn't be in business if you didn't have a great service. So the key thing about your value is to, first of all, change your thinking. Once you can stand in your value, once you own your value, you will transmit that to your prospect. And the prospect picks things up on a very, very deep subconscious level. So the vibes you're sending out, whether they're vibes of fear, of lack of confidence, of anxiety, or whether they're vibes of confidence and courage and curiosity and wanting to be of value, these will get picked up by your prospect. And it's such a sublime thing, but absolutely it's the case each and every time. So it's to create that thinking within you that you absolutely have value, and it's to look for the evidence of where you have provided value. So look back at the clients you've helped. Who's your best client? What did they say about you? What feedback did they get? What was the result you helped them to get? What are the testimonials you have? Look at your testimonials before you go into a sales call to remind yourself how much you have to offer. Now, we all know that we can't get great results for 100% of our clients. There is no one, no matter how great a coach, no matter how great a consultant, can get 100% results for every single client. But you have evidence that you have helped people. So keep reminding yourself, and remember, it's always your perspective, which is the unique thing here, which is the most important thing. How do you see yourself? How do you see your service? Once you stand solidly behind that value, then you will give those vibes out to your prospect and they will pick up on it.
Oh, you froze.
Sorry, am I okay now?
You are okay now.
Excellent.
So you brought up something at the beginning about people feeling sort of pushy, salesy, slimy. Where does that concept come from, and how could people overcome that if they are thinking about that?
Well, when you feel pushy or salesy or slimy, that immediately puts you on the back foot. And you can almost guarantee that the sales conversation isn't going to go well. It comes back to value again. How much value can you provide in that call? If you went into the sales call thinking, what do I need to do in order to transform this person's life? If you went in with that thinking, can you imagine how much value you would put into that call? I'm not talking about coaching on the call. I'm not talking about giving away your best information on the call. I'm talking about really being there for the prospect, of focusing on the prospect and what they need rather than focusing on yourself and your worries and anxieties. So when you focus on the prospect, then you are automatically going to be listening deeply. You're automatically going to be curious about why they're in the situation that they are, why they have that challenge, how they've got there, and what you can do to help them. And when you put the focus on the prospect rather than putting it on yourself, that's when a real conversation starts. That's when you start engaging and building rapport. Because let's face it, how many people are listened to deeply in their lives? Most of the time we're listening with half an ear and we're thinking, oh, what am I going to say next when they finish talking? But when you really, really listen deeply to that client and why they're struggling, where their challenge is, when they feel they're being listened to deeply, then they are automatically going to start trusting you, and they'll automatically start giving you more information than maybe they've ever given to anyone ever before. So take the focus off yourself and put it on that person, and then there is no way you will come across as salesy and sleazy.
The thing I've always found, I've been in sales since, God, I don't know, since Adam was a lad, as my mother would say. But you think about your client is thinking, I look at it as radio receptors. If you think of them having a radio receptor coming out of the top of their head, and they are filtering what you're saying through what's in it for me. That's the only radio station they listen to. What's in it for me? WIIFM. What are you trying to sell me? Like, be succinct with what are you trying to sell me? And how can I get this? That's ultimately where it's at. And I find that, we're saying, if they're thinking, they being anybody who's listening, if you are going out to do a sales call, maybe you have prepared for that by dressing appropriately, getting all your material together, rehearsing in your head, being excited, knock on the door, big smile, in you go, and you outwardly think that you're demonstrating confidence and value. But internally, how, like if you're processing what the person is saying to you, question-wise, it's an unconscious response if you're automatically going into that less than value stance. And how could they overcome that? Because it's not something like, oh God, I'm going into that fear mode set. You know, you're having a conversation and it's backwards and forwards with your client. How can our listeners better prepare themselves, I suppose, really, because you can't do it while you're in the mode. You're not saying,
Yes.
oh my God, my head is going a different way than it should be, right?
Yes, and you touched upon something really important, that outwardly you can appear to be confident, but inwardly you're not. So it's getting
Right.
that true alignment with your feelings and your outward behavior. So it's having that inner confidence, that inner courage to know that you will be able to handle whatever's going on. You can handle a no very easily, because a no is just a stepping stone to a yes. So the way you go into the call is everything you do before you go into the call. Is how you turn up to the call, which is the really important thing. And know that every call isn't going to end in a yes, and be okay with that. You've got to be okay with the no's. Now, the way to prepare yourself before a call, when you're going into a sales call, is to do the inner work. I'm afraid it's as simple as that. We all have money issues. We all have money beliefs. We all have all this these money stories inherited from our childhood. It's time to clear this money stuff out once and for all. Because while it's hanging around, it's the filter through which you see life. And if you have filters around money, that there's lack of money, that you're never going to have enough money, that no one's going to pay you that much, you don't deserve more money, that it's greedy to ask for money, it's not ethical to have money. If you've got all these beliefs around money, then however much willpower you use, however much you try and posture the confident look, at some point it's going to trip you up. But when you're in that place where you know actually you do deserve more money, that you know it's not greedy to ask for your value, that you are giving more value than the money you're asking back for it, when you're in that mindset, then it makes the world of difference to how you show up.
The other thing you want to keep in mind when you are doing sales calls is 84% of people who say no will actually say yes within 2 years. But it's keeping in touch with people and knowing how to strategize all your sales calls, which is a totally different sales call. But just keep that in mind. It's like they are only saying now because their circumstances and perspectives are creating that situation for them. But if you are in a business that you know people want, that person will actually work with you within 2 years. And so it's a strategy of it's a cat and mouse game. How am I going to get you? You're going to work with me? How are you going to come? It's coming through. And it's, I always think it's just a game. It's fun. It's just one of these days you will be working with me. I'm just going to find out how. And I get it there, sort of thing. So it's like, what really do people need to stop focusing on and start focusing on to get their best results?
Stop focusing on yourself. Stop focusing about your fear. Get yourself out of the way in the sales conversation. I know this is easy for me to say, and that's challenging to do. Get yourself out of the way and make your focus the other person. When you make your focus the other person, then you can give a lot more. And you can give your value. You have to demonstrate your value in a sales conversation for the person to say yes to working with you. We have to. We expect it when people are selling to us. And interestingly enough, the real meaning, the original meaning of sell, is to give. So think of your sales conversation as an opportunity for you to help that person. And when your focus is on that and it's not on the getting yes at the end of the call, you will be surprised, you will be amazed how often that person will feel well served and will turn around and say yes to working with you.
So one of the questions that's popped up here is, how do you overcome the objection when you're new in the field and you don't have experience to prove yourself? How do you try to make them trust you and give you that first try? Now, it's like the foundation of any sales presentation is to know that you're not new, number one. You have the skill. You've already practiced it. Your business is new. You're not new. You're not new to the world. You're not new to the service that you're providing. And 93% of the decision to hire you is going to come from whether or not they trust you. And you've got to sell that trust. You've got to provide them with things that they can trust you with. There's obviously something going on in that person's psyche or mind, Nina, to bring that question up even, right?
Yes.
So it's a hurdle that she has, right? And how can she best overcome that?
It's all about confidence. It's all about confidence in what you are able to provide. And let's look at the people in your industry. Some of them are doing really, really well, aren't they? They're able to sell their services. What is the difference between that person who's able to create a really great income, a really great business, and the person who feels that they won't be able to sell their services? What's the difference? It's the mindset. It's your confidence. It's your self-belief in yourself. And what the mistake most people make, not just when it comes to selling, but it's in their business, is they tie their self-worth with how much money they've got in the bank, how many clients they have. And the point I can't emphasize enough is that your self-worth is inherent within you. It has nothing to do with how much you earn. It's got nothing to do with how many clients you have. So you are not your business. You are so much more than your business. Your value and your worth have nothing to do with how many yeses and nos you get in your life. And once you can separate who you are from your business, then you don't take things personally. And rejection it's taken out of it's not a part of your language anymore. It's just that, oh, that person wasn't ready to say yes to me right now, but they may say yes later on. Can you imagine the impact that would have on your business when you begin to think like that?
So mindset, sorry, go ahead.
No, please carry on.
I was going to say, mindset to me is the secret sauce to any business success. It is the filter that you are running everything through. And ultimately, your mindset are your beliefs. And beliefs are really just something you keep replaying and you can change, right?
Absolutely.
Change your mind about absolutely everything. Somebody could have put that belief there. It could have been your parents or your grandparents. Could be an unconscious belief that you have, because people in the industry say sales calls are hard, real estate agents are difficult to deal with, people won't pay the money, nobody wants to do it for this price. I had somebody just last week saying there's absolutely no reason asking more than $150 for a consultation because they won't pay it. Oh, really? Well, I know people who are getting twice that, 3 times that. Why do you have that belief? And it's because it's the mind chatter, but it's also who they're listening to. You go onto all these Facebook social group things, and then somebody whines and everybody gets tainted with the whining. Like, you've got to get yourself out of those situations as well. Otherwise it just feeds the negative. Right?
Absolutely, yes. So the limiting beliefs that we have, a lot of them are formed in our childhood from, as Christine's saying, things that our parents said and, teachers, et cetera, and we've taken them on to be truths about us. And a lot of people think, well, that's just how I think. I can't change it. This is how it's always going to be. But that's not the truth. You can change your thinking. You can leverage your thinking to get bigger results in your life. And I know this because I've done it for myself and I've done it for my clients. I worked with an amazing client who was a sales coach, Nancy, and she struggled to sell, even though she was a sales coach, because she felt it was sleazy, her self-esteem was very low. And when we did the work, when we cleared out her limiting beliefs, she's now selling year-long packages at $10,000 or more. Because she changed her thinking, her self-confidence grew, her self-belief grew, her value in herself grew, and she's getting opportunities coming up to her now. So it starts with you. And this is such good news. I couldn't give you better news, because if your success depended on other people, on external forces, you would be at their mercy. but your success depends on you. You are 100% responsible for your results. And I mean this in the best way. This is not to say you must blame yourself or beat yourself up. Taking responsibility doesn't mean that. Taking responsibility means to not blame other people or other events or situations, but really stand in your power and know that you can make this change. You are completely capable of doing it. The how to is, you can work with someone to do it, but just to know that you are the person who is capable of making that change. And look around you in your industry. There are people who are really doing very, very well. There are real estate agents who are doing very, very well. Whatever the economic climate, there will be certain people who do well. So those people who have the confidence, when they look at these, they wouldn't even look at these Facebook posts saying how hard it is, because it doesn't resonate with them.
I still go back to me, it's always about perspective, and it's your perspective. And sometimes you don't know that you have a filter on. And my perfect example of this is in 1974, when I came to Canada for a new life, for a new beginning, young, married. We were just thinking that this was a world of opportunity. You could do a week's groceries for $25 and have steak every night. We had a big car. We were buying all kinds of things. And we bought a house, and we bought things to go in the house. And it was only in sort of 1982, I think it was, when I went into 81, when I left my husband, and I went into sales, and it was commission. And I started to look at patterns and how I could be successful at this. And in 1974, there was a recession on. And I didn't know that. So in that recession, we both got jobs, we bought a house, we bought things, we went everywhere. We thought it was amazing. But our perception was different than what everybody else's perception was. And that's the key. It's changing your mind and that mindset.
Yes.
Somebody is asking, what is, God, I've lost that question now. There it is. So when cold calls say that they've contacted other providers and they've gotten quotes that are much lower than what your sort of ballpark is or what your quote is. Okay, so I'm saying, I think what she's asking is, what do you say to somebody to in that sort of situation? And again, I think what they're doing is their mind is now rolling backwards their value of them. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
How can I support my value? I'm going to be more money.
Yes. And it's very interesting because we keep talking about value, you and I, and it is the key thing, is believing in yourself. You are your greatest asset. You have to be able to sell well in order to create your business, unless you get to the stage where you can delegate sales to a professional. But in the meantime, this is the greatest skill. One of the greatest skills we can have is how to be able to persuade other people, not in a sleazy, fraudulent way, but with real integrity and with truth and with value. So when people are talking about prices, so I can go somewhere cheaper, yes, they can. That's the truth. And that's coming from their thinking. That's coming from their limiting thinking. But you still have the opportunity to demonstrate your value. They can still say no, but don't start going into that downward spiral of price competitiveness and how you can be the lowest priced person in the room. Still stand in your value and demonstrate how you can get them the result. What they're looking for, everyone is looking for the end result. Mm-hmm. And I could say to you, well, you can get rid of your limiting beliefs by standing on your head. If I could prove to you could do that, you would do that. So people don't care how they get the result. They just want the result. And if you're able to demonstrate that to them more clearly than someone who's charging less, I bet they will pay your price because they want the result. You have to differentiate yourself. We're all unique. Every single person is unique. And we have to differentiate ourselves from everyone else and show and demonstrate that, we can give them the value. And for that, in the sales conversation, there has to be great rapport between you and that prospect. And I don't even start asking questions, real questions, until I build the rapport at the beginning of the conversation. I want to get on with that person. So I spend a bit of time just chatting, where are you based? And, I'll talk about the weather. I'll talk about anything just to get into that natural flow of the conversation before I start asking questions. It's really, really important.
Yeah, but there's a danger to that too, because if you have somebody like me, to me, there's 4 types of personalities. And the category that I fall into when I teach this person is I'm an eagle and I want to get to the meat right away. I don't want to talk about the weather and I don't want to chat with you. I don't want you to know anything personal about me. It's just like, get to the reason why you're here. How much is it going to be and how can I get it? So yeah, if you're a dove, you're somebody who says, I want to be friendly and having a cup of coffee with somebody and doing all that sort of stuff. So that any of you who were with our RISA members, I did a really good workshop in August for them. And it explores how buyer behavior affects you. But ultimately, going back to this question, if a cold call is, or if someone has said to you, I've checked other people and they're cheaper than you, they wouldn't be wasting their time talking with you and trying to find out your value if they'd found what they wanted. So keeping that in mind is really a key factor. So I think I also come back with them and I say, is price really important to you? Or are you looking for quality results? Because, nobody can give you all 3 things: quality results, a good service, and low pricing. You just can't. So which are the values that are important to them comes back to asking those questions at the beginning of that call.
That's a really great point. If you charge low value, then what sort of service are you going to be giving? Probably cutting corners and not giving the same value as someone who's charging more and can give more time to it.
It's apples and oranges.
Yes.
So I sort of always say to them, it's like, you have to come back to them and say, I don't have a problem with what anybody else charges. They certainly know what they're worth. When you work with me, this is what you get. Right. And it has to, and let the chips sort of fall where they may.
There's a coach there's a business coach called Steve Hardison. He's an American, and apparently he's one of the best paid coaches in the business. And he charges, I don't know, upward of 150K to work with him. And when he gets a no, in his head, he just goes next and he moves on to the next person to have a conversation with him.
Just think of it like dating, speed dating. You're going around the room. It's like, not going out with that guy. Nope. And you just keep going until you find a yes, for sure. One of the other questions, how do you handle attempts to drive down your value in a slow moving market? And it's perception, right? Because we've noticed asking for the same price for 8-week projects and wanting 2 weeks of free rentals. So I think what they're saying then is it's a slow market wherever they are for real estate, and that they're being asked to give a price and include 2 free weeks. What's going on there?
Well, if it's
not the market,
no, it's not the market. So we can tell ourselves, and I know it looks like that's happening, but there will still be people who are willing to pay for great service and good results. A nice way, I think, of doing sales is to have 3 packages. And I don't know whether this, I know this is more your territory within your market. I don't know your market, but for my market is to have 3 different packages available. So the prospect then has the choice, and they can pick the lowest, the middle, or the highest price. And what I think is really key is having big differences in the 3 price points as well. But again, you're going to show, with each package, the value the client's going to get, the sort of result they're going to get, and then they can pick the best thing for them. But it's resisting being driven down on the price, is standing in your value. And if they do want to drive down your price, then what I do is I would take something away. I would take part of that value away as they're driving down the price. If you're going to offer it for less, then they can't get the full service for that price.
Heather, you asked a question, how do you approach the subject of low price competition? And that is not really the subject of our talk today, but if you email me, I'll send you a really good article on how to do that. Because I think we have to come back to, what Nina's sort of superpower is digging deep and finding that root cause of why you're struggling. And it isn't the economy, and it isn't the client, and it isn't the price. And it isn't the value of what you're bringing to the marketplace. You know, I mean, I think about when I first started staging, nobody in the country, not just in your town, on your street, nobody in the country was doing the service. They'd never heard of it. Nobody. So it's always coming back to when you're in sales, it's like glass half empty, glass half full. The shoe salesman who gets an island off the coast of Africa as their territory, you can look at it and go, oh my God, I'm never going to make a sale because nobody wears shoes. Or, woohoo, nobody wears shoes. What an opportunity, you know? And I keep that in my mind all the time. It's just like, you have to know at the bottom line, whatever service you're providing, that it's good and that there's a need for it. And it doesn't matter what the economy is doing. You know, if we can get jobs and we can buy things when the economy is bad, I always think again, it's like that deep depression that went on in the 30s. People were still buying houses. People were driving cars. People were working. We only hear about the stuff that's bad, you know. So if people are struggling, it's their mindset that is now bringing it to you, sharing it with you, that says, hey, I'm having a bad experience. Let's talk about it. And it's the mindset of that person who's going out and getting that business.
Yes.
So it's coming back to, if you've got fears of rejection and being criticized, they're going to affect your results. But what if they don't really know that they have those fears of rejection inside of them? If the people listening to you today, Nina, don't really recognize, like if intellectually you're saying, I'm not really afraid of people saying no to me, or I'm not really afraid of people saying, I'm not going to pay that. How do they recognize that they actually do? Excuse me.
The rational mind is very, very good at fooling ourselves. So we can be, you know, the rational mind of saying, well, actually, I'm not scared about those things. But it's the feeling part that's most important. It's what you're experiencing. So when you go into the sales call and, you know, you start getting wobbly when it comes to the point of, so when you say your price, that's the bit you're really, really dreading, because you're thinking they're going to say no to me. It's going to be really awkward. I'm going to lose that sale. I really need that money. I'm a loser. I'm never going to make this work. All of that stuff going on, then you know that your mind is resisting. When you have resistance of any form, it means you're not going to take action. It's as simple as that. You can only take the action that your mind allows you to take. The more your mindset expands, the bigger the action you're going to take, the bolder the action you're going to take. You'll become more resourceful. You'll be more focused. You'll be clearer. And there's always a way to get what you want. And I don't mean this, you know, you have to stand on people's toes or anything like that. But when you're resourceful and when you're fearless, you will find a way to make it work. It's just the way that it is. Even when there's a recession, there are still people who are making money, who are having very, very successful businesses, who are expanding. And it comes down to what they believe is possible for them. What is their potential? So all those stories that we heard when we were young, that we took on to be true about ourselves, and this is the impact they have on our lives is immeasurable, absolutely immeasurable. So be careful who you hang out with, who you spend time with. And there's many people, I don't know if we've had anything in chat about this, but a lot of people are very worried about putting up their prices or charging their worth. They keep their prices lower than they should be. And this is because they may not have invested at a high price point in themselves. And I find, and this has been true for me, very recently I signed up for to work with a business coaching client, and I paid more than I've ever paid for coaching before. And it was a scary amount for me. And the reason I went ahead and did that investment is because I thought, if I don't invest in myself at that price, how can I ever expect anyone to invest with me at that price? So I had to do it in that way. And it was, you know, it was scary, but I made that leap of faith. And so check inside where your internal financial set point is actually set within you. Because if you have a low financial set point in what you pay other people, or, you know, you're looking for discounts or this and that and the other, and I'm saying this with the greatest respect, then that's what you will get back by and large. So the way to raise your internal set point is to get rid of that limiting money programming, which you've been innocently carrying around. As a child, you didn't say, well, I'm going to have this, I'm going to grow up and think I don't deserve more money. No one makes that conscious decision, but it goes on deep within the subconscious. So your subconscious mind is the real powerhouse within you. That's where real lasting change is made. And the rational mind, the ego mind, it just messes us up. Because they'll say, oh, you can't do that. Who are you to do that? You can't charge that much. No one's going to pay you that much. Don't be silly. Other people are much better than you at doing this. And then other times they'll say, well, go for it. So it's like this push all the time going on, this conflict within you. But when you take out your limiting beliefs from the deep within you, the subconscious part of you, when they're gone, then they've gone at the experiential level, at the feeling level. And then you don't think those thoughts again. So that's the place to do the work.
Yeah, so some of the people are asking specifically questions that are focused really on staging training. It's like, if you haven't taken staging training, this is part of what you need to learn, how to get that value and establish it. And what Nina's saying is, it doesn't matter what your challenge or of your struggle is in your particular business. It's coming back to your own mindset and your beliefs. I love what Mindy said. There are no awards for running to the bottom. If your potential client is only focused on cheap price, they're not your ideal client, and you need to walk away. You know, we go through this over and over. So someone else has said, how do you prepare your mindset and yourself before making a call?
You make a decision.
Or how do you get rid of the limited money programming?
Well, that's a different question. So how do you get rid of the limited money programming?
Yeah.
Well, you could do it yourself, or you could work with a professional who knows exactly how to do this work and get a quicker, easier result. So there are lots of ways. There's lots of different techniques. I use a particular method, which is very effective. It's very quick and it works. And when I started personal development many years ago, I thought nothing's ever going to work for me. I was very skeptical and I thought I'm a special case. Nothing's going to work. And after trying many things, spending a lot of money on different coaching and talks and all the rest of it, I found a way that works really well for me and my clients. So I can speak from my own personal experience, although there are many, many ways of getting rid of limiting beliefs. And the method that I use has been around for a long time. The guy who created this method, Morty Lefko, he spent 25 years perfecting it. And it's a very, very logical method. It works, I take you through it step by step. We rate the belief. So for example, if the belief is something around, I don't deserve more money, we would rate the belief out of 10. And then when you've gone through the exercise, you rate the belief again out of 10. So I want to keep measuring. And when you get down to like a 2 or below, then you know that belief's not going to bother you again. So it's very systematic and it just works.
Is that something that we talked about on your last webinar?
On the last webinar, I actually demonstrated that belief.
And people on the webinar actually got results.
They got results. They went down from high numbers out of 10 to low numbers out of 10. Now, this isn't, you can't get rid of one limiting belief and suddenly everything is magically transformed. I mean, I don't want to raise expectations or give false expectations. Say we all have 100 limiting beliefs. You probably have more than that. You get rid of one, and that's going to have an impact straight away, because suddenly you've got 99, you haven't got 100, the sum total has changed, and therefore your perspective in life will shift. So what's really crucial about this is that you have insights and you have those aha moments as you're doing the inner work. You suddenly realize, okay, so it's not the economy and it's not the government and it's not that person that stopped me getting the sale. it was my thinking. It was because I was scared of getting a rejection. So if I work on that part of it, and I'm not scared of getting a rejection, then I'll be okay with a no. Therefore, I'll be more willing to go into the next sales call, knowing that, okay, oh, no is okay. It's just another step. And it means I can just maybe work a bit more on my sales conversation and, you know, maybe ask Christine a bit more about how to get over objections, and that will work better. Can you see how resourceful that state of mind is, compared to that fearful state of mind that if I get a rejection, it means that, you know, that I'll never make this work, that I might as well give up now. What's the point? That's the difference. So that's why, you know, you can imagine the fear of phone calls, strategy calls, sales calls. Imagine it's like a tabletop, and the tabletop is supported by a number of legs. Each leg is a separate limiting belief. So you have to knock out enough of those limiting beliefs, enough of those legs for that tabletop to collapse. And that's how this works. So you may have an incredible shift immediately. With most people, it takes time, because you get that momentum going, you start thinking differently. You don't have to use willpower to keep in place. It just becomes automatic. So for me, I obviously have my down times and all the rest of it, but I know how to pull myself up. My awareness is so high now, and my thinking, I know when I need to do that work to get my thinking back up to a level where I can go into a sales conversation and actually look forward to having it.
So we have 8 minutes left. And one of the questions that's just popped up is, you know, can you demonstrate simply a removal of that money challenge, like money thinking? Can you give them an exercise that they could go through here? Is it going to take too long?
I think it would take too long. It normally takes a little, you know, it does take a while to be able to go through the whole exercise to do that. I don't want to just give you a bit, because then, you know, people may try and think, well, that wasn't very effective because it was just a portion of it. So yeah, that would take longer to go through all of that on the call today.
Okay. And someone just said, like, if I find that she finds, if she lists all of her strengths on a piece of paper, you do sort of SWOT analysis of your client, but do SWOT analysis of yourself and review it. I know when I was in the corporate world, on day one of someone starting, I always gave them a file folder, and I said, this is labeled your I did good file. And anytime you do something good, whatever it is, whether you handle a client or you got a sale, doesn't matter whatever it is, you put it in there, because we live in a negative world and we're going to be catching you doing something wrong for sure. You need to be able to pull that out and go, okay, you know what? I am really good. I am really good. It's a good morning and it's a good day, and it's a new beginning. And every day, every call, every time you go out and speak to a client, it's a new opportunity. It's a new start to getting that trust for your client.
Absolutely.
You had an offer for the people that are listening?
Yes, I have an offer, but I'd just like to say one thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you believe that you're not good enough, for example, which is one of the most common self-esteem limiting beliefs out there, when you believe that to be true about you, you will keep collecting more evidence that you're not good enough, because we always like to be right. And our belief is like a magnet, and you bring in all those events, all those times in your life when you weren't good enough, and you'll say, of course I'm not good enough because I've got all this evidence that shows it. When you change that belief to I'm good enough, which is what happens when you get rid of your limiting belief, you replace it with an empowering belief. When you believe you're good enough, guess what happens? You look for all the evidence that you're good enough, which has always been there, but you never saw it before through that perspective of I'm not good enough. When you have that evidence that you're good enough, can you imagine what that does for your confidence? What that does for your courage? What sort of action you'll be taking when you believe you're good enough? The beauty of this is that you don't have to wait for anything to change in the outside world. And we are all unique thinkers. There are about 7 billion or so unique thinkers in this world. So you don't have to change anyone's mind to have a successful business. You just have to change your own thinking. Sorry, I just wanted to say that.
No, I think it's really good points. I mean, it is. It's the secret sauce. It's everything. Your mind is in control of everything.
Yes.
The universe is working for you. You know, the sun will go up, the sun comes down, the tide goes in, the tide goes out. You're at the control center.
Yes.
I think it's powerful when you really realize that your nervous system is programmed amazingly to be able to deal with whatever. And 100% of everything that happens in your life is you and what you think. And then, of course, what you do. But as a result of that. So what is your special?
It's pretty awesome, isn't it? Well, I wanted to give everyone on the call an opportunity to do this work for themselves. And some of you have met me, well, most of you, if not all of you, have met me for the first time ever. So what I want to do, Christine, is offer an easy way for them to be able to do this work for themselves and start removing some of their limiting beliefs. Now, it doesn't, so some of you may think, well, actually, strategy conversations aren't my biggest block. I've got a block around this area or that area. So it doesn't matter what you want to work on, because a limiting belief is a limiting belief, and I can work with any challenge around business. So this is an opportunity for you to be able to experience this work for yourself. And as we said, my superpower is to dig deep. So whatever challenge you have, we're going to find the limiting beliefs which are keeping that in place. And once we find the limiting beliefs, I take you through a really easy exercise to help you to eliminate it. And we measure the before and after to make sure it's truly gone. So because it's your audience, Christine, I wanted to put together a very special offer. And so the offer is, I'm just going to share my screen, is to have a 2-hour coaching call with me. And wow. This 2-hour coaching call is going to be for you to be able to see for yourself which limiting belief you have. And I've made a mistake on this. It's 90 minutes. It's actually a 2-hour coaching call. And normally the value of this is $600. But I would like to offer this to everyone on the call today for $197. So this is an opportunity for you to find out where you are limiting yourself in your business. So it may be around sales calls, it may be around being visible, it may be around raising your prices, it may be around marketing your business. Whatever it is, bring it to the table and we will work on it one-to-one. So this is what I would like to offer. And there is something else. I wanted to provide as much value as possible for your community and to thank them for being here. So for anyone who books today, I'm going to offer a second coaching session, which will be a 30-minute coaching session. So you'll get a 2-hour coaching session straight away. Then about a week later, you'll have your second 30-minute call. And on the second 30-minute call, we will get rid of another limiting belief. So in the 2 hours, you may get rid of one belief, you may get rid of 2 beliefs. We'll see, we'll do as much as we can in that time. And before we actually meet, I'll send you a questionnaire to fill in so I can get as much background information as possible so we can spend more time doing the work rather than me just collecting information about you. And this is huge value for anyone who wants to really get their business going and start removing that limiting thinking and replace it with really powerful new thoughts.
So you're providing a $600 value for $197.
Correct.
And so now you listening, you need to decide whether or not you're worth $197. That value is, what are you going to learn in those 2-hour sessions? Those beliefs are going to be moved, and it's going to mean that your business will be able to grow. If you amortize it over a year, it's less than 50 cents a day as an investment for getting what it is that you want. So what you start thinking is, what are you now saying to yourself about that $197? I can't afford it. I don't believe it. It's too much. Like, what are those limiting beliefs that are going on right now? Because if you're having them about this, your client is going to have them about what you're trying to sell, and you won't be able to overcome those challenges from your client without identifying what it is you want. Is that sort of succinct enough for you? Yes, Nina. Did I get that?
Yes, you got that really well. And what could be really useful is if you're having any of these thoughts, write them down. Write them down right now, because then you're going to start being able to see your limiting beliefs. Awareness is the key here. It's absolutely key. Then you know what you're dealing with. You know the sort of thinking you're dealing with. So write down any thoughts that are coming up for you around this, because you are seeing exactly what's going on.
And is that US dollars, Canadian dollars,
That's
UK
US.
dollars?
That's US dollars.
So that's $230 US.
Oh, sorry, Christine. I completely didn't think about that.
Do you have it so that set up so that they can pay in whatever revenue they work in?
Yes, I think so.
Because we do with ours. Like if people register, it's like whatever country they're from, it's what they pay in that particular.
I think that would work, yes,
South
because
Africa
this isn't PayPal, so I think that, yeah, it's set up as US dollars.
Yeah.
In PayPal, so I'm pretty sure that will work.
Okay, any other questions that we can help you with at this particular time? We are interviewing the potential client as much as they're interviewing us, and we need to find a respectful fit for the best client success. Yes, you hit the nail on the head.
Absolutely.
Quite a few of you are asking for that article. And all I'm saying to you is, I'm repeating what I said. If you want the article, you need to send me an email just to make it easy for me, and I'll just hit reply and attach it rather than me having to go and look for all your emails. It's just, I'm happy to send it to you, but you got to do a bit of work. Anything else that you would like to say to our listeners, Nina, as
Yes.
we wrap up here?
I would love to say to you that you all have something unique to offer, that you have you absolutely deserve success. That's what you went into business for, to have a flexible lifestyle that pays you well, that allows you to, do things that you want to do outside of work. And it's absolutely available for you. It's what you believe is possible for you, which is the key. And it's about thinking bigger, and it's about believing that you deserve it. And, I've worked with so many clients who, some of them were startups, some of them were very successful. And it was always their fears that were stopping them from having more success each and every time. And what we tend to do is that we tend to chase the next strategy, and we don't spend time on our thinking. And the thinking is the most important thing. Everything begins with a thought. Everything we've ever seen, look around you. Everything that was ever invented began with a thought. Someone had a thought. So spend time on your thinking, because it is your most valuable asset. It really is.
Awesome. So we're getting some really good feedback from Australia and from US and from Canada that it was a terrific session. Great information. And so all you have to do is go to ninacooke with an e.ca.uk/2-hour-coaching-call, and you can get that special that Nina's offering. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Nina, for doing this session for us.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been such a pleasure. It's been so wonderful meeting you all. And thank you so much for all your questions and comments as well.
Perfect. Now you have to exit us all, right?
Yes. So I will stop share, and then I will end the meeting. And for anyone who's missed this call, I will be also, sending out a replay as well.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
Excellent. So thank you, everyone. It's been such a pleasure being here.
Same. Take care. Okay, this is my first Zoom call, so that was really neat.
It was good. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah. Success to everybody.
Brilliant. Bye-bye.